All right, let's start standing up. Let's place the feet under the hips and take a big stretch, yawning, nice stretch with the hands meeting overhead. Let's interlace the fingers and then spin the palms to the ceiling. And let's take a little bit of a side-to-side stretch here. So we can let the head be cradled by the upper arm. A nice couple of goes each side. We'll then be separating the hands and taking a swing, a little twist to the spine. So here you might want to set the feet a little bit wider, release the hands and start to swing around the waist. So let your gaze, your head, the whole body go with the movement, but not so fast you get dizzy. I'm lifting the back heel just to facilitate this lift and stretch up the body. Nice, deep breaths in and out to the nose. A little bit of a swing momentum to the arms. So rather than thinking purely about stretch, just want to release down the shoulders to the hands. Last time each side, and then let's take a roll down. I'd like to clasp the hands and place them behind the head, chin to chest, and just pause here a moment until we feel sensations in the back of the neck, and also fully let go any tension in the neck. We're so used to just holding the head in place. Just let it hang as if it's someone else's head, or the idea of ripe fruits dangling, ready to fall off. Let the shoulders drop away from the ears, and now we can start to chart that movement of sensations down the back. So it may be at the top of the spine, just above the shoulder blades, starting to curl down towards the floor. Maybe we're reaching around the shoulder blades. Elbows heavy. Are we holding elbows out to the side just out of habit of holding tension in the shoulders, the arms? Or can we let the arms hang heavily by our sides? I'm now starting to focus on sensations on the mid-spine, coming into the lower spine. I'm pausing here for a moment. For me, this is probably the tightest area, so I'm just pausing, breathing through it, and then I'm going to carry on. We'll all meet in a ragdoll fold, so don't worry if you're already there, or you're not as far into the stretch as I am. You just take your time. We'll start to get a stretch into the backs of the legs. Once you're in that ragdoll fold, we'll let the arms drop. So taking a nice easy start to the session so we can feel what the body's feeling, checking in with the back of the body, so the backs of the legs here. We can soften the knees and take like a mini cat-cow. There's very little movement in the pelvis, but if you think about that tilt forwards and backwards in the pelvis, we get a real sense of how that impacts the stretch in the back of the legs and how that travels into the spine. We'll roll up through the spine with bent knees. Up to you how much you bend them, but start to rebuild the spine from the base up. So your head is the last to come up. Slowly does it. And at the top, slowly lift your head and roll the shoulders back and down. Again, just take a swing, but this time with the arms a little bit higher. A bit more geared up in the spine for movement. We'll base the next flow as if we were taking sun salutations, but not stepping all the way back. We'll just go with warrior one, warrior two, with a bit extra thrown in. So, for the sake of getting the heart rate up, let's start to move. Let's take a big stretch overhead. Now take a moment to reach a little bit higher. Notice how the shoulder blades start to lift to facilitate that movement. So we can initiate a stretch from the fingertips reaching, but we can also be aware of how the shoulder blades are supporting the upper back and lifting and giving that extra little bit of give and length and stretch up towards the ceiling. Let's swan down the arms down, chin to chest, and we'll meet in a forward fold. So rounding down, you can hold the backs of the legs or the ankles and gently pull to gently guide you a little bit lower down, but without forcing. Taking a halfway lift, we're thinking about a 90-degree angle between the legs and the chest. Stepping back to a warrior one with your right foot and mirroring you. So weight into the left foot, step the right foot back, and the hips are squared to the front. Change my ankle. Front knee over the ankle, bottom tucked until you get a hip flexor stretch in the top of that back leg. Let's lift the arms overhead and go for that big stretch again, where we're feeling the stretch into the fingertips. Feel how the shoulder blades lift slightly, they're supporting the upper back. At the same time, we're driving the feet into the floor. Think about the feet pushing down and slightly apart. So it's almost as if my hand's on your front shin and you're trying to push that shin forward. So being a little bit more energetic through the legs. We're going to slowly make our way into a humble fold, humble warrior. So let's start with hands on the hips. Start to hinge from the hips. Hands can be on the thigh, and we're slowly making our way to the floor. And I want you to place your hands as far diagonally, so your belly's on the inside of the thigh, as you feel comfortable. So maybe we're staying on our thigh. Maybe we're taking a stretch into the fingertips. So wherever you are along that path between the thigh and the hands on the floor, take a moment to again press the feet into the floor and slightly apart, so active through the legs. If your hands are on the floor, you might be able to draw your hips back and get a stretch in the spine. All right, we're pacing the hands back. We're going to rebuild the spine to come up to that warrior one position. We're going to step the foot to the front and do the same on the other side. So lowering the hands on the thigh and step to the front. Take a big breath in, take a big stretch overhead, and take a moment to lengthen to the whole body. So your heels rooting down, the rest of the body stretching. Swan dive, shoulders back and down, chin to chest, round down, and find your forward fold. Gently guiding yourself lower, and then a halfway lift. Long spine, long neck. Your other foot stepping back. With warrior one, hip stay square to the front. So there's only a small turn out in the back foot. Front knee vertically over the ankle. Bottom tucked hip flexor stretch. Let's lift the arms up to the ceiling. Take a moment to find that two-way dynamic of the lower body grounding into the floor and slightly apart. Think about the shin pushing forwards, whilst the upper body reaching energetically up. Chest, hips square to the front for warrior one. Breathing deeply, active to the fingertips. We're going to explore that fold. So maybe the hands come to the hips. Maybe we take that humble warrior fold, but we're going to keep going. So feel where you're comfortable. Maybe you just play around with folding over this front knee, but slightly to the inside. Maybe the hands face forwards. See if you can keep both feet connected to the floor. Maybe the fingers reach a little bit forward and we find that length in the spine. Pause to press the feet down and apart, keeping the legs active. And then we'll pace the hands back and come all the way up. Rebuild and briefly take a warrior one and we're stepping to the front. Second time is with a bit of a flow. So come to the front of your space. Take a deep breath in, stretching, lengthen through the body. So feel this distance between the hips and the ribs increase. Swan dive, hands down the back of the leg. Take a halfway lift. Your right foot stepping back. Find that warrior one. Now, maybe if you're comfortable here, we breathe in here, we breathe out into a humble warrior. Maybe you keep your hands on the hips. Doesn't matter. We're just feeling that controlled breath as we hinge forwards. Doesn't matter how low you come, but then pressing the feet into the floor to rise or not. It just becomes more of a challenge, more work for your core and the stabilizers throughout the body. If we lengthen the lever and have the arms overhead, so it really doesn't matter as long as you're moving mindfully and you can control every bit of that. We're going to go for 4, so 2 more on this side. Shoulders down. See if we can zip up your core, reaching into those fingertips, but still with the arms, the shoulders nicely stabilized into the joint. You'll feel that pressing the feet into the floor gives us that extra ability to lift. So we're not only using the strength in the legs and pushing the feet into the floor. Then we're also zipping up the core. Hands down and step to the front. Let's try it to the side. A big stretch overhead, taking time to lengthen. Maybe you take a stretch side to side. Swan dive. Melt the shoulder blades down the back, coming into your fold. And then take a halfway lift. This time your left foot stepping back. Again, it's that warrior one position. So only a minor turn out in the back leg. So it's too wide, your hips are going to open to the side. So dial it forwards. So hips are pointing forwards, front knee over the shin. We come to warrior one. We're pressing the feet down slightly away. Think about active through that front shin. Hip flexors stretching here. Shoulders down but active to the fingertips. Hands can come to the waist. Otherwise, we're just feeling our way through 4 rounds of folding into a humble warrior position, finding where's a comfortable level, and then pressing energetically into the floor to come back up. 3 more. So that's why the first round is all about exploring where we can go to when we can take our time, actually holding the body in this position and returning is far more strenuous. So be kind, be patient. Long through the spine. So I'm avoiding any rounding just to get closer to the floor. I'm thinking about length along the spine as I lift and lower. I've lost count, so I'm going to do 1 more, and then we're going to step to the front. The next round will be looking at warrior 2. So let's remember that one. So step to the front, take a deep breath in. Breathe out and fold. Hamstring stretch, also release to the back of the neck. Get into the habit of letting the head dangle here. Now we can activate the neck muscles on the halfway lift. When we set the right foot back, we're thinking about a right angle, perpendicular to the front foot. So step back and lower the heel at an angle. So the front heel is pretty much in line with the back arch. But we're not going to be fussy about that because anatomically we're all a little bit different, so it might not work for you. So toes, knees, and front foot forwards, bottom slightly tucked, and you see here the hips more open. We'll stretch and we'll look at the front finger, shoulders down. You might want to glance back at the back arm and see, sometimes we think it's as high as the front, but it's not. Now, if we squeeze the glutes and press the feet into the floor, this time, see if we can gather the energy underneath us. So we're pressing down and together, and then we'll engage, fire up those inner thighs. So shoulders down, see if we can zip up your core. Here, extend the side angle, again, like we did with the warrior ones. I want us just to find our way. How much of a side bend are we prepared to take? So maybe you slide your hand down the shin, maybe it finds the floor, maybe you take your arm overhead, but like we did with the humble warrior, just walking the hands forwards, just feeling our way into that second asana position. We can just feel where we'll be comfortable. Maybe we rest the forearm and we take the arm up if it's not ready to come overhead. So let's press the feet into the floor, gathering them together, so you'll feel this in the hip. And then let's come on up. We're going to step to the front and do the same with the other side. So this is just a preparation round, feeling how we are in the hips today. And then breathing out, taking a fold. Hands down the backs of the legs, bow the head. After our halfway lift, here is the left foot stepping back to warrior 2. So let's again think about a 90-degree angle. Your front foot pointing forwards, your back foot out to the side wall. Let's lift the arms and look at the front middle finger. Bottoms tucked, we are open in the hips. And let's gather that energy underneath by clawing into the toes. Feel the whole outline of both feet pressing into the floor. As our attention goes, this front knee will want to collapse. Anticipate that and really get an inner thigh stretch in this front leg. Take a moment here. We're going to be leaning forward, so think extended side angle. So maybe we just work our way down to a side bend Maybe work your way down the shin. Maybe work on lifting the top shoulder so it's stacked vertically over the lower shoulder. So maybe this is as far as we'll go with the flow. When we take it, maybe the arm comes overhead. So take your time just to explore this side bend, then engage the legs by pressing the feet into the floor and come on up. Let's get ready for the flow. So we step to the front. Take a breath in and stretch up. Breathe out and fold, chin to chest. Roll down the spine. Use the hands on the backs of the legs to keep that feedback loop to the brain, how the legs are coping with a stretch. Take a halfway lift. Warrior two with the right foot stepping back. Let's find warrior two arms. We'll breathe in here. We'll breathe out. Find somewhere along that trajectory that we're comfortable with. Maybe here. Maybe hands to the floor. So just working your way into warrior two, an extended side angle at your pace, to your depth, wherever feels good. Again, well, let's go for 4, assuming I can count 4. See if we can keep the shoulders softly down. One more on this side. Resetting at the top, zipping in, knee charging forwards. We'll make this one our last one on this side. Wonderful. Let's come on up. We're going to step to the front, over to the other side. A big breath in. Feel length. Feel a good centimetre taller than when we started. And then fold. Hands down the backs of the legs. Use the opportunity to give the hamstrings a good squeeze, the calf muscles a good squeeze, and then let the head dangle. Take a halfway lift. Your left foot stepping back to warrior two, 90-degree angle. Step back and find your warrior two arms. Take a deep breath in here. Breathe out. Start to take your side bend. Maybe we keep the hand, the forearm on the thigh. So working between these 2 points. Always a reset, shoulders down, really strong and vertical as we come upright. Maybe we slide a little bit lower. Let's go for 4. As long as we're getting a little bit of a stretch, finding length in the side of the body and coming to a nice reset. Always good to remind the body where is a nice position for the shoulders. One more, make sure this knee is tracking forwards. Amazing. Enjoy that inner thigh stretch. And then let's step to the front. If you shake out the legs, we're going to use that careful work to now take it back to Pilates and think about a balancing stick. We're going to interlace the fingers, index fingers pointing up to the ceiling. Let's step 1 foot forwards. So when I'm doing yoga, I always talk about coming into a balance with bent legs. With a balancing stick, they use straight legs. But as long as we are careful with the transition, we can get the same strength and control. So as we start to lift the back heel, the toes still on the floor, I'm starting to zip up my core, reconnecting with the pelvic floor. So that then when the toe lifts at the back, there's not very much of a jerk or a transition because I'm already prepared. It's up to you how far you go into the T shape. It's better to maybe stop here and come back with control and gradually build up your confidence. But above all, avoid launching into a T. See if you can own every little bit of the movement. Just for consistency and for my memory, we'll go for roughly 4 attempts where maybe we're just tickling the boundaries of where we feel we can go to. We can always release the hands and our impulse will be to save ourselves if we lose our balance. Also working your heart a little bit more with the arms overhead. Always zipping up and reconnecting with your pelvic floor and finding time to come into your balance so that all the muscles that are needed to help give us that stability have time to engage. So hopefully from our forward folds, your hamstrings are ready for this steep work into the hamstring stretch for standing leg. Last time on this side, and then we'll switch legs. So make sure you have a fixed point for your gaze. Oh, you know what? I did a class yesterday and my arms. Wow, how would I have a class of feelings today? Let's take it to the other side. So your other leg, standing leg. Have the other hands crossed, so the other thumb on top. Let's lift the arms overhead. This is what it feels like to be one of my students. All right, so let's again just find that zipping up of the core. And the way we transfer the weight onto the front foot, and we keep the back toe on the floor maybe the whole time. You know, maybe it's just a gentle lift and lowering. We flirt with the idea of coming into balance. We're already balancing even the back toe on the floor because we've shifted the weight off center. So when you're ready, let's go into wherever you feel you can go on this side. Again, identify a point on the floor for your gaze. Energy into those index fingers. See where we're pointing forwards. That just gives a sense of pulling forwards whilst the toes are reaching for the back wall. Nearly there. Last big stretch. See if you can get that control coming out. And then let's shrug out the arms. Big sway side to side. Well done. We're going to come down to the floor. So meet me on the floor, lie on your belly. Wonderful. So let's go back to yoga. Go to Shalabhasana for the locust. Interlace the fingers behind the back. And let's point the toes. Keep the gaze down and now energetically draw the fists down towards the back heels. Tuck your bottom under, and when you're ready, let's engage your core. It's very easy just to let the belly flop into the floor. Engage the core and rise on up. So long through the legs, active legs. You can press the tops of the toes into the floor, but let's keep the pubic bone pressed into the floor. Let's go for 4 here. So we're squeezing the shoulder blades together, and here in this version of locust, most of the work of peeling the shoulders back is being done by the hands clasping. So we'll make the next exercise a more challenging one where we're getting the same movement, but we're challenging the body to move in a different way. So after your 4th locust lift with clasped hands, let's slide the arms out in front. So I'm on the knife edge of the hands, thumbs up to the ceiling. Now, we can either just work with one hand, leading with the thumb lifting up to the ceiling at a time. Your forehead might be on the floor. So let's go side to side, try on each side this version. If that feels pretty doable, we can float both arms up and then just lift one arm higher. If you feel you can, you float arms and legs, and opposite arm and leg lift. But it's a very small lift. Try to avoid arching the back here. So that's why we have to keep tucking the bottom under pubic bone, pressed into the floor. So now we're obviously working with a much longer lever, the arms and the legs. So compared to the clasped hands, Shalabhasana, you're working a lot harder. You can hear my voice shaking. That's any comfort, consolation to you. We're on another round, and then we take a child pose. You're doing well. Last set. Big reach, leading with the thumb as we lift. And then hands under the shoulders and take a child pose. A little bit of a rock side to side, just so we fully ease out where we will inevitably arch the lower back a little bit. But a minor level of strain is actually a good kind of stress to put on the back, as long as it's nothing like pain. Right, let's come onto our backs, hug the knees into the chest. Again, there are going to be options here. I want you to feel your cores working, but what we'll all have in common is no changes to the arches of the curves in the spine. So neutral spine, I can just about slide a finger underneath into this curve in the lower back. So let's start to adjust the feet, the legs to tabletop where we've got a neutral spine. Now you have to self-regulate. We're going to extend the legs and then draw back to our starting point. So it depends on you and how much core stability you have at the moment, where your starting point is. You have to feel you have got full control over keeping the spine exactly where it is. When you're ready, you start to extend the legs. Maybe they come all the way overhead, and we're here. Anywhere between this movement, slow movement, I hope you've already started, or more advanced, maybe the arms go overhead, maybe the legs are straight and we're in more of an open V shape, and maybe the legs tap down. So just trying to cater for whatever level you're at, and today maybe you just don't have it in you. There's a lot of colds going around, so maybe a gentler approach of straightening the legs and rebending. But what we should all have in common is the curves of the spine are staying exactly the same. So be really fussy about that. Front ribs together, navel to spine. Think about where your ribs meet your belly, that place, pressing that into the floor. Chin tucks into the chest. So only stay in the legs extended position with leg dips if you are absolutely certain you can maintain that neutral spine. Be really fussy. Last set, whichever version you're doing, as long as we all feel like we're zipping up those abdominal muscles, it's all good. And then hug the knees into the chest. Quick one for the obliques. If we come up onto the forearms, let's take the can-can. So leaning back on the forearms, let's sway the knees, lift the feet, sway the knees over to one side, and then back the other to the other side. So we're aiming for the knees to be stacked, the hips to be stacked. That's what works your oblique muscles. So swaying side to side. If this all feels doable, it should be a nice massage as you roll across your glutes. We can take an extension in the legs. So bend, switch, extend, bend, knees into the chest, up and over, and extend. How are we doing? Good stuff. You can pause here to really feel your oblique muscles switch on, so you can adapt, make it your own. Option, of course, is to lie on your back, hug the knees into the chest, and have a gentle sway side to side. Big fan of options. There are always options. Right, let's have one more set each side. I'm just going to finish with a quick stretch out for the arms, because we're kind of hunched up the shoulders here. So come to a mermaid position. Let's fan the legs out to the right. And we're going to place right hand on the left knee. And we'll take a twist and look right over your shoulder. Once you're there, your front arm's going to stretch up to continue that twist around. Reaching into the fingertips, feel your gaze turning to look around, your chin, your shoulders swiveling around. You can press one foot into the top of the other thigh, pause and stretch, and then release. Take the legs over to the other side. So one foot's on the thigh if that's possible. Otherwise the knees can be stacked, it's fine. Hand initially to the knee. Your right hand behind you, feel that swiveling. And once you're in your spinal twist, lift the arm and continue that twist right into your fingertips. To feel how the shoulder blade glides along to help with that stretch. And then gently release. Come to cross-legged. Now just take a side stretch, reach up and over, try and relax your thighs. To the other side. Forward flexion, walking the hands forward, bowing the head. And then walking the hands back slowly, head last to come up, no sudden movements. Roll your shoulders back and down, hands on the floor behind you, fingers pointing away. And now open across the chest, off the chest, out, lengthen across the collarbone and circle the head. Nice and soft in the jaw. And then take it the other way. Wonderful. That's it. Just lift the knees, have a little shake, maybe have a little lie down, whatever you're feeling.